Greetings everyone! You're watching the channel Aviation Obsession. The Grumman F-14 Tomcat's death left gaps in the carrier air wing that are just now being felt after serving the US Navy for more than 3 decades. The F-14 was the first of the American Teen Series fighters, which also included the F-15 Eagle, F-16 Fighting Falcon, and F-18 Hornet. It was designed to use the air combat expertise gained during the Vietnam War. In addition to serving on US Navy carriers, they were designed to travel long distances quickly, hold their own against fighter escorts, and keep Soviet nuclear weapons from ever reaching US territory. Fortunately, nuclear war never broke out, and following the fall of the Soviet Union, the need for the Tomcat's costly maintenance became somewhat less evident. In the end, the US Navy chose to replace the F-14 with the F-18 Hornet, an aircraft that placed more emphasis on ground engagement than air superiority. So, in this video, we will talk about the F-14 Tomcat's history and features. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon for future uploads. Without further ado, let's get started. Advances in Soviet missile and strike aircraft technology made American aircraft carriers vulnerable to long-range attack in the late 1960s. In the meantime, ongoing dogfights over Vietnam's skies demonstrated that the new Soviet MiGs pose a danger by outshining the US Navy's present fighter aircraft fleet. A brand new aircraft was required, one that could outfly and outfight enemies while being able to intercept them far from its home fleet. The U.S. Air Force and Navy were ordered by Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara to cooperate and create an aircraft that can perform the missions required by both forces in light of the growing cost associated with aircraft design, testing, and manufacture. With the Air Force already interested in the F-111, changes were made to allow it to serve as a carrier-based interceptor. But as work on an F-111 naval variant began, flight testing revealed how unsuitable the plane was to carrier-based missions. It was clumsy and challenging to fly while attempting carrier landings, and the aircraft had trouble staying stable at supersonic speeds. The Navy's proposed replacement jet's flying tests resulted in the deaths of numerous test pilots because the aircraft was so unfit for carrier operations. The Department of Defense authorized the immediate termination of the F-111's development for the Navy and the investigation of a completely new aircraft for fleet air defense after realizing that a disaster was imminent. The Navy was in danger of being outgunned in a conflict with the Soviets should the worst happen, and this will delay the purchase of a replacement for its F-4 Phantoms by years. If a new aircraft wasn't created, tested, and acquired right away, U.S. aircraft carriers were at risk of sinking into the ocean. Defense contractors started working on multiple prototypes right away, but Grumman's variable geometry wing design caught the Navy's eye. The new Navy fighter was enormous, and utilizing typical fixed wings would have harmed its ability to fly. Instead, Grumman cleverly designed wing shapes that can change as the aircraft flies. The F-14 was capable of higher supersonic performance by moving its wings back and closer to its body, by moving them forward and out. The aircraft avoided the problems of the F-111 and enjoyed smooth flight at low speeds. It is a supersonic, twin-engine, variable sweep wing, two-place fighter that made its first flight in 1974. It was designed to engage enemy aircraft in all weather situations, including at night. It was built to track up to 24 targets at once. 2 Pratt & Whitney TF-30 engines, which were far superior to any Soviet design, are used to power the futuristic fighter. The aircraft is equipped with a potent AWG-9 radar in the large nose section, which enables it to engage 6 targets at once and track 18 others. Even quickly moving cruise missiles may be tracked and engaged thanks to the radar's extreme strength and accuracy. For defense, the F-14 is outfitted with a radar warning receiver, an electronic countermeasure suite, and chaff and flare dispensers to divert enemy missiles. A fighter-to-fighter data link enables several F-14s to exchange targeting data with one another. But the F-14 really shines on offense. It was built to take on Soviet MiGs, shoot down Tupolev bombers, and destroy cruise missiles launched from the ground, the sea, or the air. It had some considerable weaponry to accomplish this. The F-14 could carry 2 AIM-54 Phoenix missiles with an engagement range of 100 nautical miles to engage targets at great distances. The F-14 would use 3 AIM-7 Sparrows at intermediate ranges and 2 AIM-9 Sidewinders at shorter ranges. If caught in a dogfight, the M61 Vulcan cannon, capable of firing hundreds of 20mm rounds in seconds, would destroy adversaries. The F-14 could fly up to 51,000 feet, which is high enough to intercept even the highest altitude Soviet bombers. Its top speed was 1,340 knots, or 1,544 miles per hour. As a result, the Tomcat was unquestionably one of the most capable fighters in the sky. The F-14's variable sweep wings allowed it to adjust its speed to match that of other aircraft as needed. Because of its adaptability, it served as a platform for tactical reconnaissance as well as an interceptor for fleet defenses. The U.S. Navy equipped the F-14 with the Lockheed Martin Lantern Precision Attack Navigation and Targeting Pod in 1995, a dual field of view FLIR and a laser designator or rangefinder, both included in the Lantern Targeting Pod. During the 1990s and the start of the 2000s, the U.S. Navy continued to rely on the F-14, which it used in Operation Desert Storm, Operation Deliberate Force, and Operation Allied Force in the battles in the former Yugoslavia, as well as in strike escort and reconnaissance tasks. 2 Tomcat aircraft were deployed in a bombing mission in Iraq in February 2006, which was the F-14's final combat mission. The aircraft had a lot of untapped potential after retirement, but because it was getting more and more expensive to operate, the Department of Defense chose to stop funding all Tomcat upgrades, including the Tomcat 21 project, in favor of the brand new F/A-18EF Super Hornet. In fact, a lot of people didn't like this choice because the Tomcat still had certain benefits over its replacement. Tomcat seems to be retired, but is he really? This brings up the tragic end of the Navy F-14s. To prevent Iran from using the Tomcats as a source of spare parts, they were literally shredded and crushed when they were first put in storage. The Tomcat entered service soon before the F-15 Eagle, which is expected to stay in service for many years. Did the Tomcat really need to leave so soon? In fact, a number of potential Super Tomcats that would have completely updated the avionics and made it a fully functional multi-role fighter were submitted to the Navy. The attack Super Tomcat 21, for example, would have had an improved ESA radar, vector thrust engines, and the ability to super cruise at 920 miles per hour without utilizing the afterburner. However, the Navy chose to field the F-18EF Super Hornet instead. Although the Hornet airframe wasn't quite as well suited for air-to-air combat, it nonetheless performed admirably, used fly-by-wire technology, and was less expensive to operate and maintain than other aircraft. The decision between investing in a Super Tomcat and fielding the Super Hornet involved a trade-off, and the Super Hornet simply won in the Navy's calculations. However, the U.S. Navy and the Iranian Air Force both demonstrated that the Tomcat was one of the greatest American fighters of its time. Zandi is credited with 11 kills in an F-14, according to the U.S. Air Force, which is a remarkable accomplishment for any fighter pilot. But during the Iran-Iraq War, he was in good company, as his fellow pilots were keeping the sky clear of any offending Iraqi aircraft. The F-14 was retired from Navy duty and replaced by the Boeing F/A-18EF Super Hornet, while the Iranian Air Force still uses the Tomcat. Only a small number of the aircraft, which were acquired by the Imperial Iranian Air Force in the 1970s, are still in use, but rumors claim that they have carried out escort missions in Syria, demonstrating the Tomcat's continued potency even after almost 50 years. That's it for now. What do you think about this aircraft? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button and remember to subscribe to our channel.